If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 6 of the Leaderboard, co-sponsored by TwinSpires. I'm your host, Howard Kravitz, along with Noah Maher and Matt Miller, and we are here for a very exciting show. We're going to talk about not one, but two contests that are coming up this weekend with TwinSpires. I mean, they have more than two contests, but of course, we all know that Turfway Park unfortunately had to cancel last weekend, and they moved their fantastic synthetic championships to this Sunday. So we're going to be talking about the Gun Runner contest, $500 entry for the KDBC seats, and the $750 Turfway synthetic championship contest, which will feed several seats into the NHC. Plus, get this right, they are seating $5,000. Wow. Darren Zocali's got some money in his pockets, boys. TwinSpires is seating $5,000 free dollars in that synthetic championship contest on Sunday. It's very exciting. Gentlemen, got a big weekend coming up, and of course, early and continued happy holidays. How you guys doing?
No.
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Mr. Miller?
I'm doing just great. We're I don't want to steal the show or anything from anyone, but Noah's got some stuff to talk about. He's playing it cool right now, but this has been a pretty big week for him and some buddies.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We're gonna talk to Noah first for a little bit, and then we're gonna get into really two aspects of the contest. We appreciate everyone watching. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. You can follow us on X at HHH Racing Pod. And please, if you really want to help us the most, there are several things you can do. One is very easy. Hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, notification bell on the top right, and that thumbs up button below on the YouTube screen. Just boom, boom, boom. Although you don't need to make that noise, but smash it. There you go. Smash that like button. You can only do it once, Matt, as we know, because if you do it twice, it'll undo the like.
Well, I'm glad you did it 3 times because you would have ended up turning it back on. So that's
there you go. All right, let's get into it, guys. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, Noah, Matt and I have been there, and you're like, what is Howard talking about? First of all, for people who don't know, Noah's a senior at UK, does a great job there in the equine studies program. He's rocking it out in all sorts of his life aspects right now. But I got to tell you, Noah, it's got to be a tremendous feeling to just have finished final exams. I know you've got several weeks of just hanging out with the family, having fun, etc.
Yeah, I'm glad it's over. And if you can't tell that it's been stressful, I've got this big ass zit that's on my face. So obviously it's been quite stressful to balance stuff these last couple of weeks, but glad it's over and glad I'm on with you guys to talk some contests.
Didn't notice anything, Noah. Couldn't tell anything was there. All looks good. Not only that, Matt, his football team and our football team, dare I say, crash course for the NFC Championship, Bears versus Rams, Matt? What do you think?
One game at a time.
Let's just start dreaming right now. Let's go.
I'm a believer, but it's still one game at a time, and we got Green Bay this weekend. Let's focus on that one.
All right. Well, what we also have, of course, these contests. That's what people are here to talk about. So let's get into it. No, first of all, before we get into the context of these two contests, your growth in these contests have been tremendous, and anyone who's paying attention at all to the TwinSpires tournaments can see it. So I have 2 quick questions for you, Noah. And first of all, congratulations. You've had several wins lately. That's the main headline. But tell everyone when, if you recall, your first TwinSpires contest, approximately, like how long ago, and just talk about your growth and the fun and excitement you've had playing in TwinSpires contests.
Yeah, I know exactly when it was. It was the Thursday after the Derby because I spent some time with Matt, and he was just kind of talking through some plays during the KDBC. We were there at Churchill Downs for the Derby this past year. And I was like, you know what? I want to get involved. So I think I signed up a couple of days later, played that Thursday, and Matt helped me out. And I kicked it off 1 for 1, which I was very fortunate. I probably should have stopped there. But anyways, started then. And I was kind of busy this summer. I played here and there, but not a ton. And I feel like I've definitely ramped up in trying to get involved in these tournaments within the last couple months. And I can't take all the glory. I know Jackson Muniz has had success over the past couple of months, and then we finally got Ryan Anderson to get into those and rounded out the trifecta of the PHP players having some success on TwinSpires. So glad to do it with those guys. And regardless of win or lose, anytime you play, I feel like it's a great experience for me, especially just with the limited experience that I have in general. So anytime I'm out there, I'm always gaining something, regardless of whether I'm cashing or not.
Well, you're doing really well, Matt. Of course, you're always doing well, which is great. And people are wondering, Howard, what about you? Well, look, I've had some moments. I've come close in some. I'm picking my spots, to be very honest, a little more than the other guys, simply because with full-time high school teaching, I can't play during the week at all. I mean, I could, but it's way too stressful. And just speaking of stress, Noah, it's just not ideal for me. So I usually wait till the weekends, and then certain weekends I like more than others. So I love the TwinSpires contest. Obviously, you've seen my name on the leaderboard several times, very close. My time is going to come to hit a big one there, but I'm just sort of picking my spots a little more. Also, shout out to another Ryan, by the way. A little shout out to Ryan Mistretta. Who's that? That's a very good friend of Patrick Kunzel that we all know. Guys, he just signed up for TwinSpires. He's going to be playing contests soon also. No, I know you have been talking to him a lot since you met him on our trip for the Breeders' Cup. So, Matt, it's just great to see young guys get involved. This is exactly what Darren doesn't care if you're 21 or if you're 81, but it is great to see some young, fresh blood in these contests for TwinSpires.
It's terrific, and I'm going to try to say this without any accidental profanity, but my enthusiasm here is quite legitimate. It's funny when you see a bunch of buddies that are entered in the same tournament together. You can either get suspicious and wonder, are they trying to cover things off? Are they whatever? If you people had any idea what the group chats looked like as we are trying to beat the snot out of each other and playing these contests, I mean, there is nothing cooperative to speak of. Obviously, once one of us gets knocked out, we get on team the other guys and want them to do well or whatever. But it can be pretty ruthless, the chatter back and forth. You know,
we got a question from Brad Anderson, our good friend from Brad. No, you a Zeppelin fan, or are those your dad's posters in the back of your studio? And when are you getting that set up? Now, I know you just had finals, but I mean, you told me 2 weeks ago you were working on that background. So what's going on here? You're muted, Noah.
Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, those are actually mine. I've got the Zeppelin one. I actually got the Purple Rain one just a couple weeks ago. Nice. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out where I want to put them, just because I've got so much stuff down here that I gotta reorganize and put some stuff.
All right.
If you got an interior designer, please let me know.
Okay. Reach out to Noah. He's an old soul. If you don't know him when it comes to music, for sure. Very well versed in music also. All right, guys. Let's get to so congratulations, Noah, on your successes and Jackson, and just we're rocking it out. Couldn't be more proud of everyone, really. I'd love seeing. And the last thing I'll say before we get into these details, people will think, oh, these guys are all great friends. They must talk to each other about their plays. And I got to be very honest with everyone out there. There's zero collusion going on. We are during the tournaments, we don't talk to each other at all about the plays. In fact, I always, whether I'm playing or not, I'm curious. Like I go right to leaderboard and I click to see. That's a great thing, Matt. I click to see like, oh, they played this, they played that. We have no idea what each other is playing unless all of us are out. We're cheering for one person, basically.
Well, it depends, because sometimes the second they open up the gates, it depends on which group chat you're in, because honestly, the gates open and someone throws another horse in someone's face, and next thing you know, during the race, we're kind of rooting against each other. But it's it truly is good competition until you're out, and then then you're welcome to talk freely amongst each other. But until then, and we also have a good time, frankly, when someone does well, and then we get annoyed when someone else enters the tournament later, and it's like, why are you coming after me, man? I thought we were friends. But I want to win as badly as you do. So.
Yeah, it's that late entry when you're doing well, and then all of a sudden you see 2 entries at the starting value of someone you're like, gosh darn it, I can't believe these guys entered the tournament. Anyway, all right, guys, let's get into it. So first, let's talk about the Gun Runner. The Gun Runner tournament, which is always planned. Matt, I'm going to sort of let you lead the way here. $500 entry. It's for Katie BC seats, 250. You can see it on screen. 250 in the bankroll, 250 in the prize pool. They've got, again, I could make this a little bit bigger, but that's always slightly risky. Let me go up one here. There we go. There we go. So all the races at the fairgrounds, of course, the usual structure. They have one KDBC seat. Again, if you don't know what that is, Kentucky Derby Battery Challenge, it's a $5,000 seat, and then an additional one for every 20. So Matt, again, that means, and people have asked us before and a little confused by this, basically if they have 40, you basically take the number of entries, divide by 20 in this case, and that'll give you the number of KDBC seats. So let's say there's 43 entries. 43 divided by 2 is obviously more than 2. It's 21 and a half, which means there's going to be 2 KDBC seats, and then that extra 1.5 is basically a fifth prize with a certain cash value. Is that correct, Matt?
That's correct. And I don't want to gloss over these KDBC seats. I would say, with no disrespect to TwinSpires, if you ask any horse player what is the premier asset I can win besides cash, they would probably say a BCBC seat. I think these KDBC seats are right behind that. They're worth $5,000 a piece. It's a major tournament, and they're feeding into it throughout the year. Trust me, from last year, it's a terrific feeling to get there, armed and loaded with 2 entries that you didn't have to physically pay for, that you managed to win. So winning one of these things is a big deal. And a tournament like this, you're right, it's typical in terms of structure, where they take half of your entry towards the prize pool, half towards cash. At a $500 price point, a 20-to-1 ratio is not terrible to be winning a $5,000 seat. So I don't think, this is kind of the equivalent if you're doing an NCAA pool. This is like doing one with 30 other people, not with 3,000 other people. This is not crazy. It's not that hard. 20 people. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not like you're trying to beat hundreds of people. It's not that bad.
Well, what's great, Noah, and this is a great point right now to make at this point of the show, is for people a little more cash strapped, or like $500. I don't have that kind of money. They have a ton of qualifiers. I wish I could play in more because of my work situation, but I know that you and Jackson and other people on the show that, can't just throw out hundreds of dollars all the time. You're in college, your life situations, whatever. You can play like $100 entries, qualifiers during the week, so you don't have to pay that $500 or $1,000 if you want 2 entries.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously, if you're involved during the week and you like some stuff, it doesn't really take a ton to be able to win this kind of stuff, because obviously people are involved during the week. And I know they do offer, when they have those tournaments on Saturdays, typically the day before, they'll offer a bonus feeder where it's a little more expensive to get in, but they pay you back, where the ratio is a little bit better with more people that enter. So if you get to either 20 or 25 entries, they'll increase that ratio from 1 per 5 entries to 1 per 4, 1 per 3 progressively, and until they end up closing that window.
It's just tremendous, which then leads to my next point from Jeff Amster. Jeff, thanks for joining the show. Howard, you just made a great point. Darren has done a great service to the contest world in making the TwinSpires contest fully transparent. The other DWs should follow his lead. I can't say anything negative about Darren. It's all positive. I think you totally agree. I know, Matt, you responded to that. This is from Mike Saletta, right? Hockey 17 Horses. Frustrating. Frustrating is a new word I made up for tournaments. Fun because you can win cash and seats, and strategy laden. Ooh, frustrating for a few reasons: bad beats, right bet, an odds drop, or a late entry. Look, you're going to get that frustration in any contest, guys, whether it's TwinSpires or other ones. But we'll add that to frustrating to showlaxing. Well, we should just create a whole new dictionary of words for tournament play. All right, guys. So that is the gun runner. Now we'll talk about the card here in a moment, but I do want to talk. I want to talk about the other card, and then we'll get into the strategy for each one. Now, the other tournament, of course, is the Turfway Synthetic Championship, which is going to be moved to Sunday. Again, Matt, you need to explain this for people because Darren Zocali made some changes, and I think changes for the better. This tournament originally was, let me put it on screen, it was originally 1,500, but they had to cancel it. Now it's only 750, but you can see on the screen, 500 bankroll, 250 in the prize pool. I'd always, by the way, people should look at that ratio. Speaking of ratios, Noah, not just winners, not just how many seats they're giving out, but the ratio of bankroll to prize pool. Anything over 50% is great. This is 2/3, 1/3. Excellent. That is a term that everyone should be involved in. Not only that, Matt, as I said, they seeded the pool. Talk about what people see on the screen for Sunday. Again, this is for Sunday.
Yeah, look, Darren and team I said this on X, they got dealt a rough hand by Mother Nature with the cancellation of the Turfway card, which, because of the way these contests are set up, led to the cancellation of the contest. They couldn't just put it off and assume everyone could do it again. So they, in my opinion, bounced back with a really strong, this is kind of a hybrid contest. I wouldn't call it just a straight NHC qualifier. There's a big cash component to this as well. So if you go down and look at the prize pool, going. There you go. Okay, how many entries are there going to be in this thing? I don't know. I'm gonna just take a guess, and let's call it 50. Well, first prize is an NHC seat. Some people value these things differently than others. Many agree it's somewhere between $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Other people would say priceless. Put your own price tag on it. You have that plus an extra $3,500 of cash. Most of these TwinSpires tournaments, it's not a knock on them. They don't offer that kind of cash. A lot of these offer seats and qualifiers, and yeah, this is a nice opportunity to ring the register and take home some real money. So you could look at the prize pool. I think once the registration closes, they will update what we're looking at here with exact numbers, so how many spots, what the exact dollar number. But the bottom line is, and this is true even in contests that involve seats, although not NHC seats, if there's a partial, where you get to 27 entries and 30 would have triggered something, they do give you 7/10 the value of the thing you missed out on. They can't really give you 7/10 of an NHC seat, but when it's a KDBC seat or when it's cash, they in fact do that, and you get a nice credit for that. So it's not like you have to go all the way over the cliff to get the prize. Getting halfway there gets you there. So bottom line is, these are two different contests, and I think you really have to look at the prize structure itself as you determine. We'll get to strategy, Howard, as you say, but as you determine what you're trying to do here, I think you really have to look at the prize structure, what you're looking to win, and work backwards from there. And I think in the contest we're looking at right now, where you're looking at a top prize that I'm just going to roughly value at, I don't know, $8,500, I think you're going to see some pretty healthy totals of people going for it. So with a bankroll of $500, I don't know. I'll take a guess right now and say 5,500 wins this thing.
All right, so about 11x. I was going to wait to talk about that for the gun runner, but Matt's thinking about 11x. Again, 500 times 11, 5,500. Math teacher, thank you. Have a nice day. No calculator in front of me. Anyway, now they're only giving out 2 seats. No, they can only give out so many NHC seats, obviously.
Yeah.
But so they are giving a second one at 42. So 21 entries will be 1, and 42 entries plus will be 2. They're not going to give more than 2. But as Matt said, no, I mean, look at it. If it's 50 entries, and this is going to be 50 entries, I'd be shocked if they don't have 50 plus entries. 3,500 in just cash, Noah, that's fantastic. And if they happen to knock out of the park almost 10,000 for first place, I mean, that buys you a BC seat, if you want to spend it that way. So anyway, I think we're going to see big numbers on Sunday, despite the fact it's a Sunday and there's NFL and it's been moved and changed. But we're looking at a big contest, I think, here also.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like the cancellation from last weekend was a bit of a blessing in disguise because they've been able to add those qualifiers on Friday and Saturday for merely 150
That
bucks.
too.
So
Yep.
people like you who aren't able to play during the week, they might be more inclined to get involved on Friday and Saturday, which in theory will open up more seats and people that are able to get those opportunities to get into this thing on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. For example, like here's Friday, they've got an Oaklawn. There's that bonus feeder that you were talking about.
Yeah.
No, so it's a little more expensive, but you don't have to you don't have to finish as high. That's a qualifier into the gun runner. They've got here's another Friday Turfway feeder into the Turfway synthetic. So look, the options are that's 150 bucks.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, you can easily do that on your own. You can do that with a friend. Ryan Mistretta, you listening? You know, I mean, look, you don't have to read Mr. Moneybags. Now, I know there's obviously advantages of 2 entries. Not everyone can play 2 entries. That's a whole other conversation that we've discussed on the show. So anyway, there you go, guys. Very, very exciting stuff happening at those 2 tournaments. Now, let's get into strategy. So the PPs for Fairgrounds, for some reason, I don't think I do have them. Okay. It's the Turfway PPs I'd have to punch up here. But let's talk about Fairgrounds first, Noah. And Matt, feel free to chime in. Very interesting card, to say the least. This is like the start of Fairgrounds Road to the Derby. And by the way, at 8 o'clock tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern here on Wednesday, stick around here in 40 minutes on this YouTube channel is our Ben and Boozing boys, Kyle Roscoe, Patrick Kunzel, and Andrew Rosinski are going to be covering the late pick 5 for this contest, this gun runner contest. So you're not going to want to go anywhere. When you look at this, though, no.
Pad and paper are in hand, Howard. I mean,
there you go. I can see that. I can see that, Matt.
This is critical viewing.
Very interesting. A lot of 2-year-old races because they're trying. It's almost like Stars of Tomorrow, at church that we talked about. I know some people might be turned off when you see 7 maiden special weight races, Noah. I got to tell you, I am not one of those people. In fact, I would argue that the real Sharpies out there are going to do better in these tournaments with less obvious, I put it in quotes, less obvious winners, more sneaky trips. I mean, maiden special weight races, they're first-time starters, obviously, but there's also a lot of horses that are not first-time starters. The form lines aren't going to be there for a lot of these horses. When I say form lines, I mean it's hard. You won't see horses winning, obviously, 2 or 3 races in a row or like consistent buyer figs. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of variance in the past performance lines. The first 7 races are challenging because they are main special weights and they're huge fields. In fact, Noah, bigger than the stake races.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how people go about this because there's been some talk in the chat about how difficult some of these maiden special weight races are. And just taking a look at them, I feel like it's as difficult as advertised, just with the big fields and obviously some of the unknowns that you mentioned. And then once you go into the stakes races, even though they're smaller fields and they're still 2-year-olds and they're still a little, unproven. So you've got the difficulty of this contest on Saturday and then Turfway Park just to really mix things up on Sunday. It's going to be tough trekking this weekend.
Was there an early race you suggest people, we'll do this very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, an early race or a horse that you think people might want to, by the way, there's your well-pronounced name.
Yeah.
Later in the card, I don't think I could do as well as you, but I'll try. Como Rambino Omede? No. Anyway, I tried. But that's later in the card. Is there a horse early in the card, Noah, or a race that people should be maybe taking a stab at here?
Yeah, so if I've got 2 entries on Saturday, I'm most likely going to split them up in race 3 with 2 first-time starters and the number 3 Golden Tempo for Cherie DeVoe and Jose Ortiz, and then the 4 Coronado. The 3 worked well with a horse by the name of Stirring Words, who's also a 2-year-old for the DeVoe barn, who finished second behind Liberty National, who's actually the morning line favorite in the Gun Runner. So I think he's a pretty good prospect. At first look, breeding suggests maybe he might want a little bit longer, but the dam was great. He takes place around 1 turn. It's very possible that you could maybe want him next out, but there's no doubt that there's some talent here, and I think he could be able to best this group on Saturday. And then the 4 Coronado is kind of the obvious. The dam was the stakes place going 6 furlongs on the main track. The rule of thumb with these Cox runners is he typically sends his better 2-year-olds down to Payson Now I know he had some of his better prospects last year at this time at Payson and ran them at Gulfstream Park. But with the races we've seen here at Fairgrounds and at Oaklawn, he's kind of gone all over the country, I feel like, with some of his 2-year-olds. I know he's had a couple at Oaklawn. You see this one here at Fairgrounds, and obviously they paid $550 for him. So just speaking about those 2-year-old prospects, I feel like this could maybe be one of them.
Well, my quick glance there, Matt, and I'm sure Noah saw this but didn't mention, the owners of the number 4 Coronado are Wathan Racing. They are international ownership who Davey Lane knows very well. They have bought and not claimed, but they have bought many important horses with big time graded stakes placings. Some horses of racing age, Matt, and some horses that are obviously 2-year-olds like this one. So when you see Wathan Racing, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with them, those blue and tan silks, you know that that's a serious group right there. So the 3 and 4 for Noah, 2 horses that are, and of course St. Elias stables. We also know Phipps and St. Elias. I'm not sure I've seen that combination. No, those are wow. Those are 2 heavy hitters right there. So ay caramba, with the damn caramba there, and a curly, Matt, as our good friend Paul Halloran would say, his favorite horse.
Look, I'm gonna take us slightly on a tangent and just say on this topic of 8 straight maiden races, which admittedly is a little eye-popping.
7.
Although I think Chris pointed out, I think it ends with 1 maybe.
Yep.
6, 7, 8, whatever.
It does.
Sorry, I had to get that. Look, if there are some people that believe that they are better at picking or handicapping stakes races than maiden races, if you are one of those people, you don't really have to bet more than just one of all those maiden races. Bet a minimum on a daily double going into that first stakes race, and then just bet out the rest of your stakes races. And you don't have to be all upset and all up in arms about a bunch of maidens that scare you, or you feel like you're not enough of an insider or whatever it is. Or as you guys are saying, maybe you don't be afraid and you jump in the water and say there's some hidden value here if you know what you're looking at. For me personally, this tournament for me will probably be a 2-hitter where I got to hit 2 nice things. I can't imagine I'm going to have the patience to sit around 8 races and do nothing. And so I'm going to try awfully hard. But my guess is there's going to be one early play and a stakes race play at some point.
Yeah, and I know, Matt, I mean, it's very simple to let the board be your guide. Now, that doesn't mean a 4 to 5 first-time starter is going to win, but those horses are obviously, here, the dumbest statement of the night, extremely live, and maybe horses you want to consider depending on the situation. I also think, no, there's going to be people like Matt suggested that are maybe going to wait till the last 5 races. I mean, it's 5 minimums. You could just wait till race 8. I know TwinSpires doesn't want to hear that because they want the handle. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just, bet the early pick 5. If you're going to do that, that's fine. Yeah, I'll bet the pick 7 of the first 7 maiden special weights. Noah, end of the card. We'll talk about the last race in a second, and then we'll get into Turfway. 4 stake races in a row. Again, Bet and Booze and guys are going to be covering that here at 8 p.m. Eastern. Within the stake sequence of race you'd recommend or a horse?
Let's go to the Gun Runner. I think it's a fascinating race. The morning line favorite is the aforementioned Liberty National, who just kind of ran in place in, I thought, what was a pretty good maiden race at Keeneland in terms of quality, and then came back and was a very convincing 4 and quarter length winner last time. Who beat Stirring Words, who I mentioned is from the same barn as that horse earlier in the card. Just seems like one that's really getting better and better. Obviously, we've seen McPeak have some success with his 2-year-olds, and as of right now, this is probably the one that people are looking at, if they're making a future wager or some kind of prospect down the line. And then the other one that I was looking at was who was it in here? I think it was a 2. Yeah, the 2 Chip Honcho for the Asmussen barn. Came out of that same race, actually finished quite a few lengths ahead of Liberty National that day, October 16th at Keeneland. And then came back, was part of a scorching hot pace over the slop at Churchill Downs back at the end of November, and completely went on with it. It kind of seemed that he was getting a little leg worry. But boy, he really did heavy lifting early on in that race. I think the blinkers will help him finish a little bit. And Paco's going to be aggressive, of course. So he should put him on the lead. if you're able to kind of go with 2 horses in there, you got 1 speed type with the 2, and then the 3 maybe coming from off of it.
137 early time form pick. That is absolutely blazing. I think that was one of those days where the track was playing very fast, even though it was like wet fast, Matt. Remember those like wet fast cards in California in the 90s and 80s? If you're a longtime fan, you know what I'm talking about. Liberty National has been getting a little bit of buzz in the futures. I can tell you that, Matt. Some people like this horse. It's a Maxfield, Noah. So that would be obviously the first time a Maxfield would, as he's, what is it, second crop sire, I believe?
I think you're
Liberty
right.
National? I think so. Anyway, okay. And by the way, the 5 is a talented Ohio bred. Just throwing that out there for Michael Maker and Jareth Loveberry. So it should be a fun race. The last race, did you look at the last race? And very quickly, Noah, again, main special. We know, Matt, how much these races come down to it. For the gun runner contest on Saturday, a horse that people should be interested in, or just this race in general, it's 2 turns on the dirt for 2-year-olds.
Yeah, you better get your 2 hits in early, because I think this might be the most difficult race of the weekend.
Wow.
2 horses I was a little interested in. The 3 Thunderbuck for the Cox Barn was just green as grass last time. Took a ton of dirt, broke from the inside first time out, which obviously you can, make some excuses for that. And it's clear that he's definitely figuring things out. I don't know that he's been off for a little bit, but again, that's a little bit embedded with the price. 8-1, I think, is a fair value on him. And then Market Runner, he was one in that race at Churchill that I watched, was just pulling like crazy down the backside. The comments, I guess, got it right, but I don't think they necessarily do justice. The race appears to come back live. You can see some of those horses that we had talked about, and one of those, including Liberty National. And it just seems like one that he wants to run all day, where there's maybe some question marks about some others that got some good trips and not sure they want to go 2 turns. So 3-5 would be a very unconfident, 2 that I would go with. But if you're going to win this contest, I think you better be right in this race.
By the way, Matt, you don't know, as an honors college student, throw in the word aforementioned. Not only a wonderful word, but multisyllabic as well. When you hear the tough race,
Charlie knows that word now. He probably just learned that in his first semester of law school. And here's Noah just whipping it out like we didn't go to school for. It's amazing.
Wow. Dig into Charlie Freeman out of nowhere. Didn't expect that to happen. When you hear, Matt, when you hear that the last race is very difficult, according to Noah, and I haven't looked at it, but I fully trust him, that leads me to believe I got to make my ending plate's got to be one of these stake races and not wait for the last race. Ideally, if people handicap it and believe it.
Look, it's so hard to win these things without winning the last race. And I so would like to have a high confidence pick rather than, just throwing money around at the end trying to do something. I do think that the fact that there's a double will help. And it's funny, I was afraid you were going to ask me for a pick. I actually liked Noah's 2 horse in the penultimate race. And so without getting too deep into my strategy, at the moment, I'm thinking I'm going to be playing a few doubles of that horse into, and no disrespect, Noah, I didn't look at the race. I don't know your horses. And I'm probably going to be looking more at the tote board than at the past performances and just seeing, who's live in the probables. And, the idea would be hopefully get alive to enough money that I could afford to purchase 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 daily double combinations at the end and, cover myself to a bunch of horses in the last race. That would be the goal.
I want to give a few shout outs. Matt Majunkin, who, I haven't mentioned this a lot because I don't want to boast too much, but Matt Majunkin is a Team HHH member, and he buys our power play as our tip sheets. Not that he needs those to do well, but shout out to Matt Majunkin, who's an excellent player. Also, shout out to Chris Couples, who agrees with Matt Majunkin on that thought of number of Theismond, great name, in race 9 on the turf, in the turf race at the fairgrounds. So shout out to those 2 excellent players. Chris's contributors. Actually, Chris might be on the show soon. He doesn't even know that, but I got to give him a call for a certain reason. So anyway, he's been on the show before. All right, guys. Now, the reason why we spent more time, by the way, Matt, $500 entry for KDBC seats. You already mentioned about 11X. We're good. Let's move on. Turfway. If you watch episode 5 last week, you can find out a lot about how we feel about the synthetic championships. Of course, that was Jackson Muniz's opinion. Now we've got Noah Ma here. Will give his suggestions. Here's the card, Matt, for Sunday. Very quickly, there's 4 fantastic stake races. I mean, look at these fields. We know the fields are always huge at Turfway. It's very difficult. It does finish with a main special. No, let's just jump. Well, first, Matt, one question to you. We'll jump to Noah and then end the show. First question for Matt is, this is 750 with only 2 NHC seats. What are we talking about with a final total here, in your opinion?
Well, you're starting with a nice bankroll of $500. People tend to value those
500.
seats.
Sorry, yeah.
People will back. I think this is what we talked about before, where the aggregate prize value here is about 10 grand. I think that puts this in the category that's similar of about 11x, something like that.
Okay.
I think about 5,000, 5,500. You know, you might be able to squeak in if you're in that second spot with something less, but I have a feeling these are going to be meaningful totals.
Before I get ripped on, we have to be a little bit careful. We say 11x, that's including the prize pool. So we really should refer to the starting. So if we're going 250 to 52, that's like 20x. Is that what you want to stay with there, Matt? For the gun runner? Because the gun runner, you said 5,100, right? But they start with 250 for that.
So for the gun runner, which is a 250 start, right, I would say for that one in the range of 2,500 to 3,000.
Okay, so that's like 10 or 11x.
500, I'd say 5,000 to 5,500. That's just
okay. So
rough.
Either way, about 10, 11x. I think we told people the gun runner 5,500. We misspoke on that, so that's both of our faults there. If I understood what you were saying. So either way, 10 or 11x. Noah, early play here, late play, and then a few promotions. We'll end the show.
Hey, you want me to go early or you want me to go late?
Let's go early, real quick.
Okay. Race number 3 is a spot that I think a lot of people are going to key on. And no shock to most, it's the favorite Golden Sunshine, 2-1 on the morning line. I thought you could make some legit excuses for her last couple trips.
Wait, am I in the right race? You said race 3, right?
Race 3. Yes, you are on Saturday, sir. This is Sunday.
Oh, well, that would be a problem.
Yes.
Oh, well, I just got Saturday's card just for fun. Okay, let me switch to that. So there's a play early. Go ahead and just talk about it, Noah, as I try to bring it up on the screen here.
Yeah, I just think she's one to lean on. I'm not sure you're going to get great odds or great value on her, but if you need a win early, I think she's kind of the direction to go. She ran a pretty good second on September 27th, which was Lucas Classic Day, and I was actually there at Churchill Downs. That she ran big that day. And then last time, just had a disaster of a trip. She was favored that day, got shuffled back early, and then tried to kind of split horses and got shut off again at the top of the stretch. Then, made a run after that. So, it's tough because I'm one of those guys that really likes to play against favorites, especially at a place like Turfway. But boy, I can see some very favorable scenarios for her.
I really liked a horse that going 1.25 miles last week that did not work out well for me. I hope this one does. Yes, Matt.
So a couple things to point out quickly, just based on what Noah said. Number one, what he finished with is that he doesn't like taking favorites, and he just did. And so for those of us who handicap the handicapper, that this is a spot I am now looking at. Sorry, Noah.
No, but your point is well made. Go ahead and finish your point by saying that.
Right. So when someone who seldom takes favorites feels like he can't help it, that to me is a very strong vote of confidence, regardless of the words he's using. So I'll definitely be looking there. He also said something before about if you need an early winner, you do. Period.
Okay.
These minimums will crush you if you slowly just bleed yourself out. And so find something early, hit it. And then these minimums will be a smaller percentage of your bankroll. They won't be such a problem as you look for a later hit to hopefully get to your target.
I'm skipping the last race, Noah, because we've talked about these stake races last week. You please go to our website. You can go to our website, of course, but go to our YouTube channel or go to the leaderboard show from last week. We've talked about these stake races ad nauseum. The last race, I know Jackson and I agreed with at Thailand or Empire West in the very last race. The 4 or 5 could be tough in this spot. And unlike the gun runner tournament, Noah, it seems like the last race at Turfway is absolutely playable and I won't say obvious at all, but there are some horses that you can definitely play here.
Oh, absolutely. And it's probably more than likely that I'm going to be getting involved. And if I'm in a situation where I'll play this race, I don't exactly want to give away what I'm going to do. I will say I am not a huge fan of Thailand. So if I was playing some kind of scenario, I'd take my chances with the 5 and the 7.
That's because we watched him together at Keeneland and didn't win, and we were pissed, right? That's basically.
Yeah. Well, if
you recall, Wesley said he was actually. We talked about this horse, that he's bigger and wants longer, and etc. Yes. I will just reiterate one more thing. We're going to go a few minutes later. That's okay. The number 7, McGinnis on tap, who's 4-1. I think should be higher than that based on connections, whatever. Is fascinating, Noah, and I talked about this with Jackson last week. By the way, feel free to bet the 8, everyone, because. Well, Matt, Howard Wallowitz runs the race before. You can go a Howard Howie double to end the contest. Boom, crash it, smash it. McGinnis on tap looks slow on the buyers, but on the time form actually looks really good. Although he's 4-1, so I guess I thought it'd be a bigger price, but just want to mention. Anyway, it's going to be one hell of a contest, and you know what, guys? There's a place where people can watch it because we are very excited. Let me bring this up on screen. Nighttime action. Weekend Warriors this Sunday, 6:15 to 7:45 Eastern. The last 3 races of this contest we're talking about right here. NHC seats on the line. Myself, Noah, you're going to be there, right? Actually, the 3 of us. I mean, 3 of us. Who knows? You may have some surprises. Guests coming on as well, or co-hosts. It says 1,500. I'm sorry, that's an old banner. It's actually 750. But again, first nighttime Weekend Warriors, at least on the East Coast, 6:15 to 7:45 on Sunday. And no, you said you might be entering. There's rumors that someone might be getting involved with 2 entries on Sunday. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. But you never know. I mean, with a Howard and a Howie in the contest, how could I not play this contest? I mean, it's like blasphemy, Matt, if I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to pass on the glitches in the matrix that the rest of us are seeing, be my guest. But when a horse named Olivia Darling shows up, you got to hit that. And same thing, Howard Darling, go hit him.
Oh, that's normally I'd be surprised by that statement, but that those word choices. But in this case, it fits perfectly. I do want to mention the last thing before the end of the show. We've got this is our premier membership. And I know Matt Manjunkin, Chris Couples, we have people that subscribe to Team HHH. It's right below there. Go to our website, hhhracingpodcast.com, and bring it on very quickly. Here's our website. Click on the top for Team HHH. You have about 1 month now to do it. You can read all about it. But again, you get the premier meets. You get stuff from Davey Lane for international racing, which he completely crushed it last weekend for Hong Kong, by the way. You also get our Breeders' Cup and Oaks Derby package. And this is the big new one, free entry into our internal contest jockeys, completely free with cash prizes. Matt, Team HHH, you've been a big supporter of that. I don't see why people shouldn't do it. It's also a tremendous value as we discount our tip sheets.
Yeah, it's you've taken your products and services and wrapped them up really nicely into one consumable thing without having to worry about multiple subscriptions or what meat is coming up or any of that kind of stuff. I would just look into the camera and say, if you're a supporter of Howard's or this team, or you find yourself listening to this advice, that subscription is a complete no-brainer. It's just not even close. And yeah, these contests will be fun, and there's some real money there. And yeah, I'm anxious for the first one to see how that goes. I'm sure Brad Anderson in the chat, I think when Contest Jockey rolled out to the public in general, Brad and I took down, I don't remember the order of finish, but it was him and me that were 1-2 in that thing. And it was fantastic. It was just fantastic fun. And so, yeah, we will be able to create that, I think, within the community too.
Plain and simple, TwinSpires contest this weekend, Gun Runner for the KDBC Turfway on Sunday for NHC seats. Please support these contests, and most importantly, support yourself and win some big cash. For my wonderful co-hosts and friends, Noah Maher and Matt Miller, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 6 of the Leaderboard. Crush your bets this Saturday and Sunday at TwinSpires Contest. And go Bears. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.